Hello, and welcome into another edition of Tech in 10, the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs football show. From the Ruston Daily Leader, I am sports reporter Matt Belinson, coming to you mobile. I am not in Ruston this weekend. I'm back home for a family gathering, but definitely paid a little bit of attention to the final outcome in Louisiana Tech's 42-27 loss to Sam Houston. Figured it would be worth breaking down a little bit, and also some things that transpired this week as well. I want to thank the Northern Louisiana Medical Center for sponsoring this post-game series all season. Appreciate their support, and we got one game left, folks. So just be sure to keep up to date with Tech in 10 and all the coverage of the Ruston Daily Leader. So we appreciate the Northern Louisiana Medical Center for sponsoring this video. Like I said, Louisiana Tech falls 42-27 to 1-8 Sam Houston, a school that had not won an FBS game, making the transition from FCS to FBS this season, and they take down the Bulldogs at Joey Stadium for their first FBS win, dropping the Bulldogs to 3-8 on the season. You know, I think, again, speaking as someone that wasn't watching every single down of football, I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty of why the Bulldogs lost this game, but from what I've gathered, it seems like it's pretty much the same story: a lack of execution, turnovers, not fundamental football for 4 quarters. And in the end, that is what has cost this team its chances. At the beginning of the season, I said that this team was going to win 7 games, was going to be bowl eligible, and was going to have a chance, if things worked out correctly, to be a Conference USA contender. And this team has shot itself in the foot time and time again. And I think in a lot of ways, this was probably the final nail in the coffin, just to kind of solidify the embarrassment of this season. You lose to an FCS program that, admittedly had lost some close games, kind of like Louisiana Tech, but there's no reason that they should score 42 points at Joey Stadium for senior day as a 1-8 football program. It's just inexcusable. Just that alone on the surface, and I think it's pretty clear, if you paid attention at all this week to Louisiana Tech and what was going on off the field, it was pretty clear that this team was lacking focus, it was lacking direction, and especially, it started with the people at the top. And I think it showed in the final score that you couldn't get your team ready to play for 4 quarters against a team like this. Sam Houston, again, credit them, they had played some close games against Liberty, almost beat FIU. But there's no reason that they should walk into Joey Stadium and hang 42 on you. But in a lot of ways, I saw the final score looking at my phone, and I was like, yeah, that's that defense. This defense has been bottom 5 in the country almost the entire season. Pretty much the exact same coaching staff. They brought in some new transfer portal players at linebacker and defensive line. But everything has pretty much stayed the same in terms of the statistical rankings when you look nationally. This defense has been a bottom 5 unit in the entire country. And you know what? It showed its ugly head once again to a team that you should have beaten. So in the end, I think, defensively, it's pretty much the same story. You get off to a pretty slow start offensively. Hank Bachmeier, 2 interceptions, including a pick 6. And that's pretty much all she wrote, because, again, offensively, you have to, it's been proven, you have to pretty much score every single time you have the ball, because this defense just continues to let opponents just roll up and down the field on them. There's really no answer. That's as far as the X and O's as I'm going to get for this particular game, because, again, I wasn't watching, so I don't want to be unfair as to who was playing well and who wasn't. All I can do is just go off box scores and things like that. What I wanted to talk about particular in this episode was, I think, the Sam Houston game, as I mentioned, was kind of the nail in the coffin of a week that I think defines what the outcome, I think, of this season is going to be. And that is, I think there's going to be change. I think when you have a situation like that transpired between Coach Cumbie, and a member of the media this week, again, if you want to read the specifics, that's that person's story to tell. It's all over Twitter. You can go, on the Bleed Tech Blue and, find the specifics. But I think most people that are watching this have a pretty good understanding of what's taking place. But if you're Sonny Cumbie, I think it's clear when you make a move like that the frustration of this season has gotten to you. And I think for a lot of Bulldog fans, I think it's already gotten to them in a lot of ways. I think coming into this season, again, I thought that they were going to win 7 games to be a conference contender, and so far that has not taken place. And so I think if you're Sonny Cumbie, I think when you make a move like that proved to be disastrous, I think unfortunately it kind of shows that this tenure and this coaching staff and the connectivity with the community, I don't think it's in a place that's sustainable. I think when you make a move like that, I think you're laying all your cards on the table and saying, you know what, my job, is pretty much secondary at this point. I want to try and make a statement to my team. Whether it succeeded or not, that's up to you. I mean, the final score against the Sam Houston game, that kind of indicates one outcome, but, maybe as a coaching staff-wise, maybe they practiced really well and, you saw them kind of rally around you in a way. So who knows if it turned out to be a success. What I do know is that this coaching staff, just objectively, wins and losses-wise, has not produced. Almost through 2 seasons, this team is 1 game away from going 3-9 for 3 straight seasons. I just don't know, not this coaching staff, but this program in particular. This coaching staff is on the verge of going 3-9 for 2 straight seasons. But I just don't know how, if you're looking at this objectively, not from a fan standpoint, just from an X's and O's, win-losses, because that's what this business is. You have to look at things analytically and say, you know what, is this program moving upward? And Sonny Cumbie keeps talking about how they're going to win and they're going to keep winning eventually and they're going to get this thing turned. Maybe they will. If any of the year was to do it, it would be this year. You look at next year's schedule, you have to go on the road to Arkansas, NC State, Tulsa. I don't know how exactly you think your non-conference schedule is going to produce a faster start than you did this year. I mean, this year you played Northwestern State. You played a pretty bad Nebraska team. You should have beat North Texas. SMU is probably going to be one of the better teams in the American Athletic Conference. But outside of that, I mean, your non-conference schedule it's nothing. And so, when people talk about that this team is going to respond and regroup and rebound for next year, I think you just have to look at things analytically and objectively. You're losing Smoke Harris. Hank Bachmeier could be gone. Tyree Shelton is gone. You're losing Miles Hurd. I mean, you're losing so many defensive players and offensive players that have made an impact for the school. I mean, you're losing your starting center. You're losing a couple of your offensive linemen. I just don't know how you can look at this team and say that things are trending upward, just objectively speaking. Again, if you want to talk about Sonny Cumbie as a leader, if you want to talk about Scott Power as a defensive coordinator, if you want to talk about all the other things that this coaching staff may or may not do, that's fine. That's a decision for Dr. Wood to make. What I would say is, just objectively from a viewer's perspective and someone that covers this team, when you look at the raw data, not much has improved. They've gotten a better pass rush this year, I suppose, and their pass defense has been pretty solid just in terms of, pass breakups and, yardage. But other than that, I don't see a true measuring stick of this program has improved and is improving. I don't know where you could point to. Again, you're losing your 2 best offensive weapons this season to graduation. Cyrus Allen had a really nice game against Sam Houston, but kind of similar to Smoke Harris this year, it's been feast or famine with those 2. One game they get 150 yards on 8 targets, and then the next game it's 4 targets and 3 catches for 43 yards. Like, it's just very feast or famine in terms of their production. So I think it's encouraging to see what you see from Cyrus Allen, but that can't be a program trajectory marker of Cyrus Allen's played well over the past month. So I think, unfortunately, this, stunt that was performed on Tuesday, I think it was kind of a last-ditch effort to show some sort of life in this program. Because I think, again, if you look at the wins and losses margin, this team is once again going to be bottom of the barrel in Conference USA. They're going to be bottom of the barrel defensively, pretty much nationally in almost every category you want to look at. And it doesn't seem like this program has found its footing. It doesn't seem like it's found a stability that you would hope for. I know last year 1, Sonny Cumbie, kind of rebuilding year. Let's get kind of the players that we want on this program, and for the most part they did that. And then this year you're going to look into this year. You brought in the quarterback that you thought was going to change, the direction of your team. You brought in a lot of new defensive transfers. You kept your coaching staff pretty much together. You brought in a couple new secondary coaches and a defensive line coach. Other than that, everything was pretty much the same. And it's pretty much the same result. So again, I think if we look at this from an X's and O's standpoint, wins and losses, numbers, not much has improved. And I don't know what the direction is. Again, that's a decision for Tech Athletic Director Eric Wood to make as to whether or not he wants to make a change. Again, I'm not making those decisions, but just when you look at the box scores, when you look at the trajectory of this program and how they're losing, how they're not able to get over the hump, and how they're allowing these teams that they shouldn't lose to. I think if you ask anyone in that program yesterday, you can't let a 1-8 Sam Houston team come to Joya Stadium and beat you 42-27. That just can't happen. So again, if you want to look at this program and say that it's trending upward, I would like to hear it. Honestly, I would like to hear where those points are being made. But for now, Louisiana Tech is 3-8 and has one more game left to go to try and improve its win mark from last season and get to 4-8 by the end of the year. But for the Ruston Daily Leader, I am sports reporter Matt Belinson saying thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week.